What's up, everybody? Chris Saison, local realtor, fourth generation Sacramentan.
And Rene Jacques, 22 years in the mortgage industry. And as we continue to bring incredible stories to you in the Legacy Lounge, we have episode 34. Move with Dr. Mike is in the house. Mike Ochoa, welcome to the lounge.
What's going on, guys?
Man, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming,
absolutely.
man. What I was really excited to bring to the people today is the story of a man, a badass athlete turned into a passion for bringing movement and an exceptional quality of life to people through many different ways, person to person, now on YouTube, helping so many people, wanting to get the background on it because I've been watching you for a long time. You make a big impact on a lot of people, man, and people need to hear the story of how many lives you are impacting and how has the journey been to where you are up until this point?
It's been crazy. It's not anything that I expected it to be, that's for sure. But my name's Mike. I know Chris and Rene had already explained that. Licensed physical therapist with the specialty in geriatrics. So if you don't know what that is, older population. We are all getting older, right? So we can all use that help. But yeah, I simply love to help people move better. Quality is my thing. And I feel like as we get older, like we got to all take care of ourselves. And how you do that is very important. And so my goal was to always just teach people how to do that. And obviously I do that as a job. But for the last 2 years, I've kind of made the decision to take my platform online and start the YouTube channel.
Amazing. Now, I'm wondering is that's why you gravitated to me? You know I'm getting older, man. You know, and you see all the issues that I have. Is that's why you kind of marked me and wanted to
I
save me
remember.
from myself?
I did work with you on your Achilles, so I remember that. I haven't forgotten about that.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I did.
yeah.
I mean,
Big time.
what I want to know, obviously we're going to go all over the place. I want people to know who you are, but Rene's retired. He's officially retired from CrossFit. And so now I've seen this guy compete and
He is a beast.
he's a beast.
He is a beast.
I think he's got an engine on him. He's got a motor. He's got a motor. Might not be the biggest dude in the room, but he competes. Here's the question. Of the years that you guys were doing CrossFit together, did he ever beat you in a WOD?
Probably not.
Probably not. I would say definitively not. So I was curious if you were going to give me props for something I didn't do. But I was like, hell no.
No, but all props, like Rene is a hustler. Like he put in his work, and he's been an OG in CrossFit for a long time, especially when we were at Iron Mile. So you cannot sleep on him, though, for sure.
You can't sleep on him.
You have to work, yeah.
Has Chris ever beat me in a CrossFit workout?
I don't think so.
Oh, so this is what happens here. So immediately he gets the thumbs down, but then everyone knows that they beat Chris. I get beaten everything, but in my mind, I'm undefeated.
Oh man, but that's just a joke. I want to circle right back
funny.
to you, man. Hey, give us a background, where you're from, what you did growing up in high school, and everything. Start at the beginning with us, man.
Yeah. From Tulare, California. No one, if you're not from the Central Valley, you probably don't know where that's at. It's a small agriculture city in the middle between Sacramento and LA.
Mm-hmm.
So you drive down the 99, you're passing it. Last time I checked, it was like 50,000 people. Grew up there, went to Tulare Union High School, played sports all my life.
What sports?
Played basketball, which was my favorite, played football, and then baseball. So at a young age, I did dabble. Like my dad got me into karate, so I have a mixed martial arts background. And then oddly enough, I was really overrated as a kid. And so I could never play like the contact sports, especially like football. But then once I got to high school, like I was able to like participate in those sports and then see what I really like to do. So yeah, I kind of did everything for a while and figured out that like football and basketball were like my favorite. Yeah.
What changed? You said you were overweight. Did you do something specific, or was it just maturing fall in love with the sport? Where did that change?
Good question. I just didn't want to be overweight anymore. I made, I was 8th grade. I was 220 pounds.
Man, 8th grade?
Yeah, 8th grade. And, as a kid, they called me Mikey. You eat everything. It was true. And I still do. But, yeah, I just, I figured like, I don't want to be overweight anymore. Like I need to do something about it. And the only way I knew how to do that at that young age was like run.
That's crazy.
And if anyone knows me, like I hate running. And I'm sure we'll talk about my running endeavors in a bit, but I just started running and I went from 220 and then all the way down to like 170.
Wow.
Mind you, I didn't really know how to eat. Like I didn't work with anybody. I didn't have any guidance. I just started running every day because I was like, I'm uncomfortable. I don't want to be overweight. Like I need to do something about it. And that was the only way I knew to fix it. And then little did I know, you get to high school, there's no weight limit. I'm like, and I'm playing offensive line, center, and like everyone else is 6'4" and 6'5". I'm like, I should have just stayed 220. Like that would have helped my chances of like playing collegiate football. But yeah, anyways.
I feel like you can get away with it a little bit more, obviously, when you're in 7th or 8th grade, what you eat. But you're saying like, did you change anything with the diet? Or
No.
That's wild.
Just work, huh? Just putting in work.
Just running.
Just the Forrest Gump mentality. You just started running.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when you're young too, like you don't have, unless you're working with the coach or working with someone who is in that specialty, like you don't really have a lot of information when it comes to nutrition, right? Like with my boys growing up, like I'm happy I get to educate them on like food and nutrition. So that's been a fun journey, like watching my kids grow up and like being able to introduce better habits. But unfortunately, like as a kid, I didn't have very good eating habits. And, I've learned over the past and it's fun to kind of introduce that to my kids for sure.
Love it. Love it. Tell me about what was the next step after high school?
After high school, like the intention and the goal, I've always been creative and loved, drawing and designing things. And I think that's kind of what YouTube brings out of me is that creative side. But I went to school to be an architect. Like I went to Cal Poly Pomona, got accepted into their program, was focused on like, I want to design homes.
No.
And, did that for about a year and a half. And at that time, my grandmother had been going through some rehab, and she broke her hip.
Oh.
And so, I'd come back, visit from college, come back, and my grandma had a huge impact in my life. Like, she's the reason why I'm in physical therapy and why I chose this profession. But I came back and she was recovering from her injury and on the Bowflex, getting stronger with her upper body. And that was the first like opportunity where I got to see a rehab therapist work with somebody and like, what are they doing? Like they're really making her stronger. Like, so then like I took a full 180 and I was like, man, like, I want to help people improve their quality of life. Like I want to make them stronger and I want to show them how to do that. And I'm shaking talking about that because it truly is like, it was such an impactful pivot in my career that I was like, all right, this is what we're doing. So I changed like my degree, ended up coming back home for a bit, transferred to Fresno State, got accepted into the program, which is not easy. Like, a lot of PT programs these days, you have 300-400 applicants and they only accept like 30, right? And then if you don't get in, you try next year and you try next year and maybe you don't do that if you don't get in. So it is competitive. And so I was very fortunate to get in at that time. And I was the first DPT program. If you guys don't know what that is, Doctorate of Physical Therapy that went through that program. So, you know,
Nice.
that was the first program that went through there, and never looked back.
Never look
Yeah.
back.
Yeah,
Man,
pretty amazing.
what a fork in the road that brought you to where it is. Obviously, I know you now and what you've grown into. We'll touch on the rest of the story, but you know, that's a defining moment for you. And some people may hear, I mean, if you can grasp the doctorate of physical therapy, when you hear physical therapy, sometimes that sounds like it's not the highest of level, but I know you and how amazing you are with the knowledge of not just your industry, but different parts of health, inside and out, and becoming the best of the best at what you do. So that I want to make sure I put that into context, because you've been always, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it with excellence the entire way. That's just the defining moment of that fork in the road is amazing to hear. I didn't know that's how it happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think my grandmother instilled that quality in me of like, if you're going to do it, nothing less.
Let's
Like,
go.
go for it. And it's always anything I do, you know, like right now, training. I don't know why I signed up for a marathon, but I do know why.
It's because they're fun.
I did it
Said
to
no one.
challenge myself on doing something that I thought I would never do. But the point is like, I'm like, all right, well, if I'm going to sign up for this, if I'm going to do this, like, I'm going to do what I need to do to be successful, right? Like, put in the time, put in my reps.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think my grandmother instilled that quality in me, which I'm forever grateful for. But at times it could be challenging, you know, now with 2 boys and a wife. You know, you hold that standard on yourself, and you want to withhold that standard, but at the same time you have to have balance and still be a great husband and still provide for your kids and still great qualities and values that you want them to grow up with.
Yep.
So it's like that fine line with your drive and your motivation and being inspiring, but then at the same time, like, living, you know, having to be present and be with your kids and
Big
your
time.
wife, you know what I mean? And I know you know what I mean. So
No, big time. Big time. What brought you up to Sacramento, man?
my wife, yeah, we met at Fresno State, both physical therapists now. She's in pediatrics and works with burns with the kids. And so we met at school, and we did the long distance thing for about a year and said, all right, like, this 3.5-hour drive is not cutting it. So moved here, and I've loved it. Like, Sacramento is amazing. Like, so many opportunities, so many great places to eat, so many really cool people like you two, like, that I got to meet and like build relationships with. And obviously, like, there's times where, like, I really miss the friendships that I built back home and my family. But yeah, it's just growth and where I'm at in life, and we're here to stay. Like, we love this city, and Sacramento is amazing.
Man.
What marathon are you signed up for?
CIM. So
Is it-
it's December 8th. I believe it's California International Marathon.
Mm-hmm.
I've ran 2 halves before, untrained, just being the old CrossFitter I was, like, oh, I can not train for anything, and I did it, you know. But this time, you know, I have to practice what I preach, and that is, like, if you're going to get into something, like, you need to put in the time and train for it, like,
100%.
you know. So been doing that for the last 10 weeks, and then we have 7 weeks left. Very excited to get out and race.
So that's right in the heart of where we live. So I'm going to be on the corner. I can tell you which corner I'm going to be rooting you on. It's going to be right around mile 16.
Awesome.
I'll be with Kendra. I'll see if I can get him out if he's in town. But I've run 3 CIMs, and
Wow.
they're just they're special, man. And I cannot wait. It's such an accomplishment too. Like, when you cross that finish line, especially with what I feel I know about you, I'm pretty sure you'll get a little emotional, especially if you see your wife and kids after the finish line.
Yeah.
That's just such a big deal. But I think the difference between you and me is how dedicated you are to like the training and the schedule and dissecting, even leading up to this podcast. You know, you emailed Nate, you're like, what specific questions will be asked? You take preparation very seriously.
Yes, sir.
I'll even say, like, when we went to Montana, bro, this dude's a freak. Like, Montana, there's a lot of special stuff that happens on that trip. Fly fishing, you're in a house with about 12 to 14 other guys, sharing rooms. There was only 2 guys on that trip that woke up at like 6 in the morning to go down and stretch, run, and work out. And it was Mike, and I'm drawing a blank on the other guy's name, lives in Arizona. But anyways, it's just kudos to you. I think that you're going to kill it. What's the longest training run that you've done thus far?
I did 16 last weekend. I have 12 as like it drops down, and then 18, and then 20 in a couple weeks. So, yeah.
The last one, the last one I did not. I only trained properly for the very first one I did, and I think I finished it at 4 hours and 20 minutes.
Okay.
But the last one was a shit show. I did it with his brother, and we signed up for it in November. So we're talking like,
wow.
I looked at Theo, and I'm like, do you want to run a marathon with me? And he's like, all right.
All right.
And I think the longest training run that we did was 10 miles. And I've never experienced this before, but at mile 13, no, it was before that, like mile 10, mile 11, I had a full-on anxiety panic attack. My heart rate was, just all bad. And luckily, Kendra was there. She met me at like close to the halfway point. And just when you see like family and friends, it just like snaps you out of it. But I can't like emphasize enough how important properly training is. It's just you're going to see it. Like, I just know it. Like on race day, you're going to show up. I don't even think you're going to even feel getting tired. I just don't. You're a big boy, big muscular guy. So I'm sure you'll feel it on your joints. You'll feel the pounding, but like, I can't wait to cheer you on, man.
Yeah, and I want to say, like, thank you guys. If you guys could be there, like, I know what it feels like when I'm in like mile 15 or 16 because I just did that. I'd be running like Sacramento has the American River Trail, and I use it a lot. It's a great biking trail, and a lot of runners go there. And like sometimes I'll be solo on a run, and I have this little kid riding on his bike, and he's like, "Keep going." It's like, wow, that helps so much. You're
great.
so encouraging.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like those things help, like those pick-me-ups and like encouragement. And like people are like, how are you so like, man, like you're fit and you're like, I'm not like you. I can't do this. And it's like, this is not easy.
Yeah.
Like you just assume that I want to wake up every day and do this. Like, no, like I have developed habits and instilled like things in me that like if I don't do it, like I know who I'm going to become mentally, physically. So it's just practicing habits that you want to instill, and like who do you want to be in 5-10 years?
Yes.
Those habits you have to create.
Yes.
Right. And
I give you also like a kudos for like I'll ask the question even though I probably know the answer, but running and long distance running, it's probably a little bit more, we'll call it difficult for you out of your comfort zone than CrossFit. Would you agree to that?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just think that there's so much value in throwing yourself into places where you're just uncomfortable. You know what I mean? That's me. That's me in CrossFit, even though I haven't done CrossFit in a little bit, dealing with an injury. But I feel like from the time I started doing it, even now, it's like I'm very uncomfortable. I look at myself and I'm like, I'm way more comfortable doing cardio stuff like cycling or running than I am CrossFit. But I think that there's value in doing stuff that just kind of makes you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. I think the vulnerability is key. That's kind of what YouTube did for me, is like kind of taking that step, like doing something I thought I would never do.
Mm.
But like, I would never sign, like I said, anyone who knows me, like I really dislike running a lot. But at the same time, like I'm kind of want to prove to myself that like as I get older, like I should be doing more things, not less things.
Yes.
So if I'm going to be a therapist who is teaching older adults how to live healthier, I need to continue to practice what I preach. So as I get older, my goal is to like continue to push myself, right? And so running was that next step of like, okay, never done this before. Let's get uncomfortable. I know it's going to change me mentally because it's already changed my mind and making me stronger, but like, it's not fun. I every run, it's like I dread. It's not fun, but the work is done. I get it done, right? And with anything that you can pursue that you don't like if you continue to put in your time and practice over and over, eventually, it sucks less. And eventually you're like, oh, I'm not bad. Or, oh, I'm getting better at this.
Yeah.
So it's just like you can get good at something with putting in your time, like putting in your reps,
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Now let's go back. You got your degree. How did work look initially? Because some people do physical therapy out of a location. You do not, right? Did you immediately go into moving around and going to people?
Yeah. So I think with most physical therapists, and I'd say in general, they'll graduate school and then they get into like sports medicine. So I worked at an outpatient clinic, and I'm heavily manual therapy based, which means that I use my hands to work on, a lot of soft tissue, myofascial release techniques, mobilizations. I believe in how the whole body should move is important. But yeah, I worked with a lot of athletes, a lot of more advanced, like healthy individuals. They came to a clinic where they saw me after an injury. And, I was seeing 20, 23 people a day, like busy days, right? And not too much time with patients.
Yeah.
20 minutes, 25 minutes. Unfortunately, some people have that experience with therapy even till this day, where, they're given a handout or they see a therapist for 15 minutes and they're, never been touched. No one touches them, right? So I did that for a year and a half, and I was like I want more time with people.
Yeah.
Like you spend this time with them and you develop friendships and relationship, and you're like, I want to help you more, So then I dabbled with, getting into like home health. And home health is a setting where, patients, when they go to the hospital for a specific surgery or a specific injury, they leave home, then they have a therapist go there to help them. Typically it's older population, but sometimes we'll get people that are younger, car accidents, stuff like that. And I realized I would get an hour and a half with them, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Like I enjoyed it, and that's where I really start to hone in my skills with, the aging population, 45 plus. And, I'd really make an impact on people who wanted to get better and wanted to spend the time to get better. And so, yeah, I ended up, kind of diving into home health and been there ever since. And so, now doing that full time, and then also practicing. I have like a mobile practice where I'll see clients on the side, where I really get to use my manual therapy skills and stay sharp in my profession there. And maybe work with like younger athletes if they want to see me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, that's a great path. And I'm assuming you were enjoying this process and helping so many people. However, it sounds like there was a need to try to help more people, right? Is that correct? Because you only have a certain amount of time in any given day. You're developing these relationships, but it feels like you were trying to impact more. Am I right?
Yeah, YouTube definitely allowed me to do that. But I would say also that it was in the sense that I was getting a lot of, because I didn't really get into like, I also coach at a local gym. I enjoy CrossFit. I've been doing that for 12 years and teaching people just fitness and movement, right? That's different than rehab. It kind of blends in itself, but I enjoy fitness as well. And so, sorry, what was the question again?
No, it's just your need to want to
The
affect
reach,
more
right?
people.
The reach. Yeah. So I'd get a lot of people come up to me and say, hey, I'm dealing with this injury. Like, what can I do? Right. A lot of people that wanted to be like proactive about their rehab versus like having an injury. Okay, go to see a therapist, solve my problem. Okay, go home. And like, people wanted to solve the problems on their own. Like they wanted the tools to be able to recover and get better. So I was saying the same thing over and over based on these injuries that people were dealing with. And I'm like, well, why not create a video or content for them to be like, hey, go check that out. Go watch this that I made, right? Also at the time, COVID happened. People had limited access to like therapy. There were long waits. They couldn't get in to see anybody. They were dealing with surgeries and they're like, well, what do I do in the meantime? And so, I started creating videos to help people kind of solve their own problems. Right. And be a resource, a free resource for people to just be more proactive and about their health and about their, injuries. So
I think
genius.
I think it's absolutely amazing because just to use, I mentioned this before the podcast started. I'm pretty sure that I injured my shoulder when I was boxing. And anyways, I had texted Jordan, found out about CrossFit Communitas through Mike. It's here in Midtown. Phenomenal gym, just great people. You coach there. We're going to get into that. But I'm like reaching out to Jordan and I'm like, can you put my membership on hold for maybe a month or two because I sprained my AC joint? And he's like, dude, come in and see me just real quick. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about that. And now I'm like even more fascinated by what you do, Mike, just because Jordan was doing a couple tests on my shoulders and he's like, dude, you have like zero strength in your shoulders, dude. I mean, he had like 2 fingers on me. He's doing this thing. So he walked me through like some stuff that I can do inside my garage gym. And like, that's when the light bulb went off with what you're doing because I asked Jordan, I'm like, do people come and see you? He's like, honestly, like, I'm just going to like have these series of, rehab work exercises and I'm just going to watch you do them for 15 minutes. I mean, having a platform like with what you do makes way more sense because it's like these people don't have to drive clear across town to come and see you. So I think it's just giving you kudos for what you're doing because you're making it easier. They're detailed. And like going back to what you mentioned, I remember when I had surgery on my knee, I went to the physical therapist, wherever they were, and they handed me a bunch of paper and you just see these black and white little workouts that you're supposed to do. Meanwhile, like the world that we live in, everyone has a phone in their hand, right? So it just makes all the sense in the world. You basically just took all of that bull crap out of it and you've dialed it down and you've made it so easy because people are actually getting to see a full-fledged video on it, right? So, I mean, I'm imagining that a lot of that ties into why you wanted to do this in the first place.
Absolutely. Like, it's them going back to like solving their own problems, but like maybe some of them had a really bad experience. So the next thing they turn to, they're not going to see another physical therapist. They're most likely going to do their research and read more if they truly want to get better or watch more. And that's kind of where people start learning from the amazing platform with YouTube and what it provides. Such a really unique experience that as a creator, and even to this day, like I use it for myself, right? We all
big time
go there to solve a problem that we have or to be entertained. And it's pretty crazy to see the impact that, in my analytics as a creator, I can see like who watches and where my population comes from, my viewers, and anywhere from the UK and India. Like, I would never think that I would be able to touch that many lives. Like, I got an email the other day that I had like over 2 million views on my channel, like in the last 2 years. Like, so seeing those numbers, I'm like, it's crazy because I'm just focusing on what topics I'm working on each week or what problems I want to help people solve. Every week it's a different thing, right?
Yeah.
But then you get like those reminders of like how many, not just views, but like how many impressions you had and how many people clicked on your video, but then how many views in general, like the whole channel has gotten. And I'm like, wow, that's incredible. Like,
what's the YouTube the YouTube channel?
Move with Dr. Mike. Yeah, MOVE with Dr. Mike. There is another Dr. Mike who is an actual doctor, very popular, millions of followers. That's not me. But I'm a physical therapist, so I thought I'd add Move in front of there. And yeah, I'm coming up on 25,000 subscribers.
Man,
in
impact.
Just past my 2-year mark. So
congratulations on that. I'm glad you said how people can find you. But for people listening, what are they going to see on there? If I'm Chris and I messed up my shoulder, am I going to be able to locate a video talking about rehabbing a shoulder? Is that what we're dealing with here?
Yeah, that's a good point. Videos on, there's workouts on there. There's, kettlebell training, dumbbell training, if you're into that. But a lot of it is focused on rehab. So if you're dealing with a shoulder injury, a knee injury, a surgery, like got a lot of viewers who watch after knee replacements, because that was something that I see a lot, knees and hip replacements a lot. And just working with the population that have had those procedures and want to be active again. Like, we're not just thinking about our 80-year-olds or 90-year-olds. Like, these are folks that were lifting in the gym before and need a replacement and want to be active again. So shoulder injuries, neck injuries, how you slept wrong, postural, tips, and how to correct your technique with specific exercises. So all of the above, and I read every single comment and I respond to every single comment, and I think that engagement is important because I'm building a community. And so if there's a topic or something that, if you're watching this, want to hear about or want me to cover, post on a video or post on my community page on my YouTube channel, and I'm happy to develop something or create something for you guys.
Amazing. For those listening and for those watching, we just gave you a life hack. You can communicate with him directly and he'll be able to respond. And if the topic hasn't already been done, he will get the topic. We all go through little things, and he gave a wide range of stuff, from sleeping wrong, right? There's no excuse. I literally said it to my kids, not this was Lex just the other day. I think it's absolutely silly that anybody out there right now could want to learn about anything and just say, you know what, I don't know how I can learn it. YouTube is free and anybody has access to it, and you can learn almost anything on there. So if you're serious about health, if you're serious about getting back on, we just gave you a life hack of who to tap into to get some incredible knowledge, because man, the outreach, and I'm just amazed to hear over 25K subscribed. That's super impressive, because people come on there and don't subscribe all the time. So imagine how many more you've reached already.
Yeah, it's crazy. I have a handful of videos that have gone, over 200K, 300K, and it blows my mind. Like, and the comments and the outreach of like how it's affecting people and how other people are commenting their experience with what they've dealt with. Like, it truly is a community. And like, I think this world is changing in the sense that like people are starting to realize the importance or the key to prevention. And they want to do things now that will prevent them from having these aches and pains down the road. Like, people don't want to live with limitations. People who have kids or grandchildren, like, don't want to be limited from a knee injury. So they want to invest that time and like learn, hey, what can I do now to, not have to have surgery later or not have to do this, right? So I think I think we're changing. I think that if I were to, my hope is that, in the future they would treat therapy as kind of like your dentist, right? You go to your dentist 2 times a year for prevention, to prevent yourself from getting cavities, right? Take care of your teeth. Well, same thing. Like, you go to a therapist 2 times a year to get your tune-ups, take care of your engine, take care of your body. All right. Is there areas that you need to address more on? That's my hope, right? And that's what I hope people can start to learn, is that just because you're not in pain doesn't mean that you don't have an issue that you're dealing with, right? Most of us see a therapist when we have an injury, when we're in pain, right? But you can fix the problem before it becomes a huge one, right?
Man.
So,
Oh yeah, I want to chat with you on that as I'm learning on the fly right now, and I really just want to tap into your world with health and fitness. It sounds cliche, but stretching, and like you're running right now big time. First person that I think of is David Goggins, who's an absolute freak. And he talks about it on a lot of his books, that he stretches like an hour a day, which is crazy.
yeah.
Now
Should be done.
my, with what I'm currently working on, I'm realizing, damn, Chris, like there's some weeks where I'll cycle 150 miles. I really don't run that much anymore. It's pretty much like all cycling.
You're done with marathons?
I'm done with marathons. Now I
You
just
still have November. You can sign up, though.
Hey, that's too much time.
No,
That's too much time.
no, so, but I'm like, cycling, yoga, at least one day a week of CrossFit. On really good weeks, I'll do 2, boxing. So I'll mix it up. 0 stretching. And it's like, you idiot. Like, a lot of my reoccurring issues are with my glutes, my hips, sciatic, some knee stuff, which is all probably interrelated. So for you personally, can you walk us through how often do you stretch? Talk about the purpose of a foam rolling, because I think for me, in looking at my current situation, foam rolling is something I need to be doing daily. And then maintenance work, like that's obviously not CrossFit. That's not a WOD.
Right.
So can you walk us through just kind of what that looks like in your life?
Yeah. Wow, that's a good question.
Great
Chris.
question, man.
Yeah, that's a
I
great
ask
question.
way better questions than Rene. That's like the feedback that we get generally is, dude, who's that guy with them light, beautiful eyes? I'm like, that's Rene. And then they go, man, he doesn't ask as good as questions as you do, but
First good question he's had in 34 episodes, and he talks shit. No.
Oh, I love it. I love it. No, that's a great question. There was a lot in that question, but
stretching.
So I think that everyone has a base, and everyone will require something different. I think stretching is definitely for in general, for most people, needed, because most of us have jobs that require us to sit a lot, and we do a lot of activities that are sedentary, which leads to us not moving our body through full range of motion. You can argue that there are some jobs or occupations that they're sitting in squats, they're moving their shoulders, or raising their arm overhead, right? But in general, we live a sedentary lifestyle. That's where we live. So, and most people would benefit from working on their mobility a few times a week. Is it needed every day? Not necessarily, right? There are some individuals that are hypermobile, which means they were born with a lot of laxity, joint laxity. They're very flexible. I'm not going to tell that person that they need to stretch every day. Like, we've all seen those yoga individuals, very, very flexible, right? Obviously, some of them have trained to get where they're at. But in general, most people will benefit from stretching, maybe not an hour, But hey, all power to Goggins. But
so no, I want to know. I'm selfishly wanting to go into your world.
Yes,
I'm not
yes,
sharing-
I'm getting there.
I want to ask you.
Yeah.
What is your daily? Because how many days a week are you doing CrossFit?
Right now, it's backed off to like 1 or 2 times a week. But then I have my own resistance training program that I do at home because I have a home gym. So I'm doing that like 3 times a week.
And then how many days a week are you running right now?
4.
Okay, so 4 running, 3 resistance, maybe 1 or 2 CrossFit WODs, or is that kind of
Right. And if you're not familiar with CrossFit, it's more higher intense. So they could be shorter workouts. Your heart rate's jumping up higher. They could be anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. But yeah, in general, running 4 times a week, 3 times a week strength training. And then my mobility work, though, is blended in with those things because we all lack time these days. And we all don't have 30 to 60 minutes to just stretch. So usually my pre-runs will consist of like a 5 to 10 minute, probably more like a 5 to 8 minute warm up, which is more dynamic stretching to get my body ready for what I'm going to do. So I'm like kind of waking up the glutes and the legs and the calves, all the muscles that I'm going to use. And then my strength training sessions are supplementing, like building strength in those areas to be durable for my runs.
Got it.
But the mobility also, like the static stuff, the more yoga based, and I say yoga based because, you're holding for longer periods. Maybe instead of 5 to 8 minutes, I'm spending more like 10 to 20 minutes where I'm like, hey, like, my wife's watching her favorite episode, like I'm going to get on the ground and like get in a downward dog or just like open up my hips, like sneaking in these like little exercise snacking in between my day. Like, oh, I'm sitting at my desk. Like I'm going to take a little quick break and do a couch stretch right here in the office. So like it's not dedicated stretching routines. It's like, okay, I have 10 minutes here. I'm going to like work on my hips here. And the difference is like I know what exactly I need to do. And if you go to my channel, you can learn too what you need to do, things that you can implement. So yeah, did I answer? Okay.
Yep, you did. And I've seen some of those videos, by the way, on the mobility and the stretching stuff.
Nice. Thanks for watching.
I think it's like I lie to myself because the yoga I do is vinyasa yoga. You're stretching, but it's not what I would consider focused stretching because it's constant movement. You're doing like up, down, push-ups. It's a cardio burn, right?
Yeah.
So I think that there's something to be said about going onto your site and just doing some more what I'd call like focus stretching. Foam roller. What's that look like? Do you use one? Because from what I've noticed, especially with workouts like CrossFit, is a lot of it's lower body dominant. And for me, in my experience, Rene, I don't know about you, in the many years that you did CrossFit, having like IT bands that are sore and experiencing lower back pain and things like that, I think that the foam roller, I would imagine, is probably something that I would imagine you use.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great. So one of the videos that I want to make that kind of just popped in my head was like, as a physical therapist, what tools do I use? And I think that would do well because of that question, right? So foam rollers are fantastic. Lacrosse balls, tennis balls, dog toys, right? You can be so creative with finding tools that are portable, that you can use to help address the soft tissue. Soft tissue mobilization is kind of where we're targeting. We're trying to move connective tissue and fascia and create flexibility in the tissue. We're not necessarily changing anything about the joint, but also, it tends to help with pain relief and soreness, right? And so really we're addressing any, in layman's terms, knots, spasms. We're trying to get the muscle to relax. And so for me personally, with the running, my calves have taken a lot of beating, right? So there's been a few times where I will diligently take that like every day or every run. I'm at least taking the lacrosse ball and rolling out my plantar fascias, and that makes a huge difference with my feet for me personally.
Want to just get clarity on that. So you're specifically putting, because I experienced plantar fasciitis for like a year, and I had no freaking clue that it was really stemming from super tight ass calf muscles.
Is
so
that's the real thing?
So that could be one cause.
Different.
You know, there's contributors to making that plantar fascia worse, right? But one of those contributors are stiffness in the ankle, which has to do with tightness in the calf.
That's what happened to me.
Right. So tightness in the calf can lead to issues like plantar fascia, can lead to issues like Achilles. I know, Rene, you've been dealing with that.
Yeah,
you've dealt with that in the past.
In basketball, I couldn't walk. Plantar fasciitis, it was through the roof. I'd practice every day. Didn't want to walk after practice at all. Obviously, I have the biggest calves in the room. Not. But, you know, obviously I have some of the worst ankle mobility you've ever seen as well. So little calves, bad ankles, I got the gamut of it. That's why I lift so heavy up top. You know what I'm saying? Got to take the focus off. But if it's connected to that, nobody ever even talked about some of those other things where I was struggling to walk playing collegiate basketball. So that's why I'm leaning back like, why am I hearing this for the first time?
Well, real quick too, the elephant in the room too. This could be number 3, and then I didn't want to cut you off.
No,
make sure to remember this. But look at the shoes he's wearing right now, right? No, I'm saying that. No, I'm just saying that could be a contributing factor as well. These shoes, you've done such a phenomenal job on all the videos you've made, with also the importance of 0 drop shoes.
Yeah.
But anyways, to go back to what Rene was saying, and then we can kind of jump back into that.
Yeah. I mean, we were born and just kind of diving into the feet. I did a couple of videos on my channel about just foot health and stretching out our feet. I mean, how often do we talk about stretching our feet? We think about our hips all the time, but like our feet are our foundation, right? And so as kids, we're putting shoes that are supportive, ton of cushion, right? The shoe is doing the job that the muscles of the foot are supposed to do. And that's our plantar fascia, and the smaller muscles are supposed to support our arch. And obviously we all have different biomechanics and are born with different feet. And but I firmly believe that, you know, being barefoot, if you could tolerate it, and like learning how to just, you know, stretch your feet out and like just have nothing underneath your feet, being able to feel the ground. There's a lot to say with what it does for your joint proprioception. You're feeling all the sensory receptors in your feet and feeling the ground. And so, yeah, you know, there's so many different causes for the plantar fascia, but going back to the lacrosse ball, you know, for me personally, taking that lacrosse ball and rolling out the bottom, that's where the plantar fascia is, from your heel all the way to your toes, and rolling that out a minute or two gave me great relief and continues to give me great relief. Because when I didn't do that, like I'd feel my arches get really stiff and tight. So I use that, and then as sometimes I'll just be sitting and I'll have the foam roller running perpendicular to my calves, and I'm kind of just gently rolling those muscles out, right? And just trying to create movement on the muscle, the connective tissue, the fascia, so it's not stiff. Because essentially when you do a specific activity like lifting weights or running, and you're doing the same movement over and over, those muscles initially will get stiff and tighter. And if you don't stretch them after whatever activity you're participating in, it's going to continue to stay stiff, right? That's one of the results of overworking a muscle. So that's why it's good to strengthen, but also work on your mobility as well. So good point.
Yeah, it's also a cheat code for you. You already know this, but I experienced this the hard way. But back to running, why they tell you the best thing that you can do when you're running a marathon is don't stop. You know, you might have to take like a pee break, but the second you stop running, you know, especially if you're doing like long distance miles, that fascia, you start getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And I remember that the last one that I ran with his brother, the last like 5 miles was all stop and go, and it was brutal, just brutal.
Yeah.
Let's talk about CrossFit. I want to know kind of like how you found CrossFit and what that was like, and then evolving to eventually becoming a CrossFit coach.
Yeah, I started CrossFit in 2012, back when I was going to PT school. Saw a bunch of people lifting weights, also running, doing these crazy gymnastics movements, and at the end of the day, I was like, "That's really cool." Like, I've done bodybuilding for a few years. I've done mixed martial arts. I've done some cage fighting. I've kind of dabbled in all that, and I was like, man, it'd be cool to like be able to lift weights and run, like, and be able to do that. And like CrossFit taught me something so unique in the fact that if you haven't tried CrossFit, it gets its bad rap with people just jumping into it too fast and not having the right progressions. But for the most part, it's taught me where I lacked mobility.
Oh,
And so
man.
starting off just in physical therapy, when I was just getting into the field and starting my doctorate degree, you know, practicing overhead squats, you realize, wow, I have a shoulder immobility. Like, I need to work here. Or sitting in a squat with the barbell, you're like, wow, I have stiff hips. I need to work on that, right? So it taught me like that body awareness of what areas I needed to address. And then from a coordination standpoint and movement standpoint, like gymnastics teaches you so much about how to move your body in space. And so I was addicted. And I competed at a regional level on a team a few years. And, you know, we were very competitive and did really well. We never made it to the point where we were like at the CrossFit Games or, you know, on TV or anything like that. But like that competition has always been fun for me, as you know, because I was an athlete and, you know, I played recreational sports, and it was that next level for me to stay motivated and still compete in like local competitions till this day. But now I forever just see the value of the sport, and like I'm going to continue to do it. I don't have to do it every day to reap the benefits. But just I became addicted, and I continued to do that. And so then I got into coaching because it was obvious, like I'm spending this much time in the gym, like you develop skills and you develop how to teach others. And being in the physical therapy, like I already coach and inspire people and encourage them. Now I have an opportunity to like dive into like movement with fitness. And so it became fun for me to like teach people how to use a rower, teach people how to hang from a bar, teach people, right? So maybe I wasn't getting that, not necessarily in the rehab component, but in the gym, it was a different kind of coaching for sure. And that's, I think, what's unique is that, you know, I could see a patient who is 90 years old, and essentially I'm doing like some modified CrossFit workouts with them in the home. So then, you know, I can literally coach an individual who's 17 years old who is just touching a barbell for the first time. So I have that very unique position where I'm seeing all various ranges in people's like fitness journey.
Yeah.
So
I think it's huge, like for anyone listening to this, to be able to go to a CrossFit gym and have your coach be a licensed physical therapist. You know that you're gonna just talk about a cheat code, because I would imagine that not all CrossFit gyms, boxes, whatever you want to call them, are the same, right?
Right.
And I'm sure that injuries are probably not unheard of. And I think one of the kudos to you and Jordan and the coaches there, and I've taken your classes, Mike, several times, is that you have such a high emphasis on, all right, we're going to be doing some mobility stuff before we even start working out. Want to make sure that everyone's warmed up properly, but also just the form. The form needs to be, you know, tip-top shape, and I'm sure a lot of that has to do with you making sure that you don't want to get people don't get injured, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Getting injured is not fun for anybody.
Yeah.
Like, we all know that it puts us out, and like we have to stop what we enjoy doing. And so that kind of circles back around of like people being able to solve their problems and like get back into the game again and do what they want to do again, right? And so for everyone that's different. Maybe that's, you know, being strong for your grandkids, or maybe that's like, man, I want to play basketball again. Like, what can I do now to like get me strong again to do that? You know?
I really wish I would have found CrossFit younger. By the time I got there, it was post blowing my Achilles and had all kind of mobility issues. I got in there and found out so much about my body. I was a person who had high blood pressure young, like right out of college and everything like that. It was the first time I started paying attention to food and everything, just because I was around like-minded people that was there and everything. But the fact that I would be in my 30s and just for the first time kind of being an athlete and still kind of learning how to correctly move my body and knowing I've kind of messed up because I'm already so down the road with where my knees were, blown Achilles, everything like that, it would have made an incredible difference if I would have done that. Yes, it gets a bad rap, but it's because we don't have coaches like you and Ben Alderman. I love Ben Alderman. That's how we met, obviously, at Iron Mile.
Ben's a solid coach, man.
Exactly. He's always paid attention to that, and that doesn't mean that you won't get injured there, but people are like, oh, man, injuries left and right. I literally stopped playing basketball to CrossFit because it was safer, and people don't say the same thing about basketball, right? Like I was getting injured left and right on a game that I loved, so I can do something that I was intentionally trying to do, not reacting on the court and everything like that, because I literally blew my Achilles out of a back pedal and stepping too hard. That's really what it was. So I wish I would have found it younger, and the people that I've met through it, and especially driven by high-level coaches, really, I mean, that's one of the avenues, many avenues that you have to like change people's lives.
Yeah, I think that what makes, I wouldn't say CrossFit unique, but what attracts a lot of people is a community.
Oh, no doubt.
So, you know, if you can combine some physical activity and add a community, there's so much value in that. So I'm not here to say that like everyone needs a CrossFit, right? Whatever you enjoy and love, if you can find a community around that, when we're talking about like longevity and health and being compliant and sticking with something that's going to keep you healthy and moving your body for the rest of your life, like finding fitness in a community.
Yeah.
That's the key.
Man.
Like that's the key right there.
It is. It is, man.
I had the privilege of Anthony Raymond just was like, you're doing a CrossFit competition with me. I'm like, textbook shit. I'm like, bro, when is it? He's like, in 2 weeks. Oh, bro, here we go again.
I remember that.
Here we go again. But I'm going to tell you right now, my mom and Kendra came out for it. And I was fired up because they got to, that wasn't the first time my mom met you, was it?
No, I've met her before.
Correct.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like, okay, thank God that I got my boy Mike here, because I can be like, please don't watch me work out in these damn events. But I got the homie Mike Ochoa. We're all gonna go and watch him, and bro, I know that we're gonna be throwing up this video of you just dropping some crazy weight, man. But it's so fun getting to see you compete, man, and just like the engine that you have, and just it's one thing to like, you know, work out in the gym, but when you're at an actual event, you know, because you've competed in a lot of them yourself, you're just ramped up to that next level.
For sure.
Right? And when you see some of these people, some of these men and women with the weights that they're doing, and just the level of absolutely just getting after it, it's jaw-dropping.
It's a dark place sometimes, man. For me, I didn't have an engine like some of the other people out there, but man, to not suck, to not be embarrassed is a big motivator, right? That's really what it was. Just want to go out there. I love the partner ones more than anything, because it's
have
more
someone
motivation
to suffer with, right?
Suffer with, and I get more out of myself when I'm trying not to let somebody else down.
Ooh, that's a good point.
You know, more than myself. I can get out of it myself, but I'm not going to leave somebody else out there. That's what it was. So I enjoyed those more. And, you know, the feeling after competing in one, no matter if you were successful in how you placed or not, is one of the best feelings to me. to me. It was something I always look forward to, the hanging out afterwards, the community afterwards. But, you know, you put yourself through some crazy stuff out there, and man, I've watched you many times, and it's just unreal. It's just unreal. You're the type of person that I want working on me, because you understand it from every part, you know, what you do and the rehab and everything, but you live it. So that's where not everybody has it, you know?
Yeah, I one of the things I commonly hear is like, you know, people have worked with a therapist and they're like, well, they're telling me to stop lifting weights, and they don't even lift weights.
Yeah.
Or they, you know, it's like, so, you know, I like to get that experience from different modes of exercises, different activities, like running. Like now I have a new outlook on how to treat runners, because I'm going through it right now. Right. So it's like, it gives me I'm a better clinician because of the experience that I'm going through right now. Right. And I'm putting myself out there to learning that new activity. But, yeah, as therapists, we should be practicing what we preach, and we should be able to know, you know, the challenges that these athletes and these people are putting their body through, to be able to tailor what they need.
Yeah. Amazing.
Let's do a little circling now. I want to get a little bit into family life now.
Good call. I was literally just about to go there. I feel you here, Chris.
So yeah, I mean, I met you, Mike, obviously through Rene. I think I knew about you at Iron Mile Fitness, but I think for whatever reasons we didn't cross paths at the gym. But obviously very familiar with you. You end up getting pre-approved because let's see, when did you get married?
We got married in 2018.
Okay, and then a couple years after that,
I don't remember the timeline.
yeah, it was like maybe two and a half years after that. You get pre-approved with Rene. I had the privilege of helping you and your beautiful wife purchase your first home.
Yeah, and we absolutely love it. Like, that was the smoothest process. Like with working with you guys, that like it was our first time, obviously, but smoothest process I've ever gone through, and like never looked back. Like it was such a great experience, and we love that home. Like we're like, yeah,
that makes everything.
Oh yeah,
we're gonna stay here,
like that,
and
man.
you guys gave us what we wanted, like what we dreamed of, right? So thank you for that, both of y'all.
How old was Lennox when you guys bought that house?
So we bought it 3 years ago, so he was about 1.
Yeah.
Okay, so now tell us, after that you brought another boy.
Yeah, Kenzo. So I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. So Lennox is 4 and Kenzo is 2. And yeah, they are just a ball of joy, and seeing them build a relationship together at a young age is really, really unique and cool. And I'm a new dad. Like, I still consider myself a new dad. So I'm also changing and learning a lot on, you know, how to speak to them and how to create an environment for them to have fun, and, like, you know, how to allow them to explore and figure out what they love and what they enjoy, like, at such a young age, right? Like, sometimes, like, as fathers, like, we definitely have our biases on what we want them to do, but like at the same time, I want to nourish what they want to do and like what they want to learn. So that's been fun to like learn that. And, you know, me and my wife are just always like, we're so grateful. We're so lucky. And we are thankful for the life that we have with those boys because of the joy that it brings us. The other day, like I'm standing in the kitchen, and like one thing, like when Kenzo wasn't here, like when Lennox saw mom and dad just hugging in the kitchen, Lennox would come over and like wrap his hands around both of us and just not look up, but just soak in the love, right? And so for the first time, like Kenzo joined us the other day. Like I was holding Kenzo, and like Kenzo had his head down. Lennox came around and is holding our legs, and like we just hugged each other for like 20 seconds.
That is amazing.
And I went to work and you did the grind, dropped the kids off, it's like check your to-do list, what you have to do. And I sat back down and I was just like, wow, I'm so grateful for that moment.
Man,
that's awesome.
And I think it's important for us to sit and rest with those thoughts.
Yes. Yes.
Because I don't want to ever forget that.
Oh my gosh, this the awareness of knowing how special that is.
Yeah,
we get in our own routines, and sometimes we miss that. So great point, man.
I'll do that with Rene from time to time too. It's super weird too because I'm a little bit taller than him, but I'll just kind of kneel down and I'll just kind of grab his legs and just look up. I tend to look up, but no.
Man.
Life is like that. It's just. I was listening to a Gary Vee video the other day, and he's just like, man, it's just, this shit happens so quick, and it just, next thing you know, you look up. So that's, I'm really glad that you reminded us about that. I mean, when you were describing that, I felt like everything was slowing down just when you were describing it. So I think there's definitely importance to slowing down and having some time to reflect on moments like that, because we're going to have all sorts of things that happen throughout life, health scares, all, you name it. But those moments right there, definitely make everything worth it.
I think that, and I don't mean to take a big turn here, but your health is not just dependent on physical, it's also mental.
Yes, it
right?
is.
And so a lot of the challenges that I endure with CrossFit and running has taught me mentally how to control those emotions and control what I'm feeling and checking in with myself. And we all need to do that. We all need to be able to have a sense of gratitude and what are the things that we are happy about? Because we all have a to-do list and what needs to be done and how we can always be better and how we can improve, right? Which is all important for us continuing to grow but being thankful is so empowering, and kind of sitting with yourself and reflecting man, it's good.
It is.
You're okay.
It is.
It's just so powerful. So I've been practicing for the last year and a half, 2 years, just journaling a lot.
Good for you, man.
And just not only from a goal standpoint, a business standpoint, but just reflection. And I'll just wake up and I'm just gonna write down 3 things that I'm grateful for every single day. And so going back to the health, is just you got to take care of yourself physically, but mental too.
For sure.
It all makes a difference.
Who came up with the names of your kids? Was it you, your wife? Who came up with those names?
I would say we both had a good play with a good choice. I definitely wanted something that was powerful.
I think your kids have the baddest name.
Everyone says oh, Lennox Lewis, and I was like, no, that's not really why I came up with the name, but I get it. I was a boxing fan.
He's a big. So Lennox is a heating and air compressor. So I mean, this kid is destined to be one of the best HVAC specialists.
We've seen that a couple times with vans passing by. I was like, Lennox, your name. He's like, oh. But yeah, just I think just thinking of a powerful name, something that represented who I thought my kids would be, and we both kind of landed with those names, and they're amazing. Those boys, and it's a good life, man, for sure. And I want to be clear, it's not an easy life.
No.
It's super, super busy, filled with I'm a head coach for my Lennox's soccer team. You're heavily involved with coaching. I was head coach or assistant coach for the T-ball team. And people are like, oh, they just run around and play. It's yeah, but you got to organize these kids. You got to put them together, right? And so I want to be a part of his life in sports as much as possible. So it's a busy life. There's a schedule and you got to keep it. And people say, yeah, it gets easier, but it's not there yet. It's time management is so key. You start to really evaluate like what's important in your life and where you want to prioritize. And, you know, that podcast you sent me.
Oh, yeah.
Talked about really evaluating like your time. Okay, like where do you want to delegate your time?
Yeah.
And like what's important to you? And obviously things are going to shift over time, but yeah, it's a busy life, man. It's
Yes,
busy.
it is. You're right at the beginning of it too, man. Like,
Oh man.
I was going to say, you guys also live a divided household when it comes to football. I think there's 3 different fans, right? Wait, so
Yeah, there's 3. So
you're Raiders, right?
I'm a Raiders. I mean, I
Yes,
grew
sir.
up in a family that were Raiders fans. My wife is Niners, and the in-laws who are in our lives a lot. They're our babysitters and helpers. We love them. They are, born Niners fans. And then, my sister-in-law and soon to be brother-in-law,
Jason.
Cowboys. So like my poor kids are so confused what shirt to wear and which.
Man.
Sometimes they're wearing Cowboys, sometimes Raiders, sometimes Niners. But when they're around Dad, they're like, "Go Raiders!" They know what's up. They know. And boo Niners. But when they're around Papa, they're like, "Go Niners! Go Niners!" So it's pretty funny. We don't like to get
Niners
into,
Cowboys this weekend.
yeah, be a good game. So, but yeah, in general, I mean, they love watching sports. Football is like their big thing right now.
Man.
So that's
man.
like one of the only times, like at least as parents, we allow the TV to be on is like football.
Yeah.
So and it's fun. It's fun seeing them ask questions and figure out who they want to win.
Give us a little, this is also shameless plug, but your takeaway from your first refuge trip, you went to Montana. I got to learn a lot more about you, and we literally got that. We got refuge. I also want to hopefully hear that you're going to be on board for next year and make sure that this man doesn't miss the trip next year.
Hopefully we can get him out there, yeah.
Man, I love that place, and I definitely need to go back.
Yeah, I think that goes back to like having that calmness and stillness with yourself and reflection and like having I want to say that thank you, wife, for letting me go. I should put that out there. But she, definitely hold down the household while I was gone watching the boys, and being able to sit with those thoughts, whether they were good or bad, like being able to like talk about those thoughts out loud with other people. And maybe you're not talking, maybe you're just, things are stirring, right? But having the time to just like let go a bit, and it's valuable, I think, as men and women, we can all learn something from that.
Yeah.
So it was special.
That was your first time fly fishing?
Yeah, first time fishing at all.
God, isn't that incredible? I don't know if this, we talked about it, but because I got to go on a boat with Rene the year that he came. There's something just like, not to get biblical, but to get biblical. Like there's a reason that God, hung out with children, like he wants us at our core to like tap back into that occasionally, right? Because, you guys obviously have kids, so you know it firsthand, but just innocent, you know what I mean? And they're full of laughter, full of love. Like you're painting the picture of them walking up to you. They see you hugging. They just want to be a part of that, right?
Yeah.
And the older that we get, we kind of get, we get filled with things. We get filled with experiences, and it's kind of tough to break out of the routine of being adults, right? And I think for me at least, like I turn into that 10-year-old kid when I'm on a boat catching fish. Like it's it just does something where I'm like, the only thing that I'm thinking about right now is catching a fish.
Yeah.
And I think it's just healing,
Very
man.
special for you, yeah.
We're just like laughing, and it's a special place to just unplug, recharge, be in nature, and it was a privilege getting to go with you, man. And by the way, shout out to you, because like I introduced Jesse, you know, I linked Jesse and Mike together because he had a camera and I knew Jesse's into cameras. And next thing you know, I'm like hearing from Jesse. He's like, "Oh yeah, your boy Mike's going on the Montana trip." I'm like, "Huh?"
That's wild.
Like, so kudos for you for not really knowing anyone or the details I mean, we were on an airplane together and you were like, "So what's the agenda?"
Yeah, that's kind of how, like, I knew I was going, but I wasn't sure what to expect.
Yeah.
You know, it was.
It's definitely a different experience, but I also understand that, like, these day and age, like, it's hard to get away for that long, people's jobs and kids, right? So we're very fortunate. We got an opportunity to go together. But everyone can find their own, you know, refuge and their space any day of the week. It's just finding what that is for you, right? Like lately for me has been like running right by the river. Like that feels like very peaceful for me.
Yeah.
You know, like, so, but for others, it might be something different, right? So, but yeah, great trip. Definitely going back. Hopefully we can go together. That would be fun.
Let's do it, man.
But,
Let's do it. Man, so what's, 2, 3, 5 years down the line? Where are you at, man? What's next for you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I want to continue with the YouTube channel. Like when I started the YouTube channel, it was like, okay, I'm going to do this for a year and if it's successful, I'll keep going. And it's been growing at a fast rate and it's been successful. So it's changed to like, all right, like I have a 5-year now, like I want to be here 10 years. Like, it's like, I'm committed to like doing this. I really love it. So yeah, I want the growth with, continue with putting out content that people want to learn about but also like continuing to be a thriving husband, continuing to be a thriving, involved parent in my kids' life, whether that's with their schooling or whether that's with sports. Taking that time with my wife and going on date nights and nourishing that relationship and then just finding my own joy in my fitness, because if I can't take care of myself, like I can't take care of anybody else. So if I can continue to do those things to keep myself sane and find balance within the yin and the yang, right? And just continuing to challenge myself. Like right now, it's a marathon, but who knows what the future holds, right?
Man.
Before we start wrapping up, we have a couple questions we want to ask you. The first one is, dead or alive, if you can have dinner with one person, who would it be? And we didn't want to give you time to think about that.
My grandmother, for sure. I would like to have a discussion or conversation with her, for one, to hear her laugh, and for two, to see what she thinks, like where I'm at in life. Like, hey, what do you think, Gramps? Like, did I meet your expectation?
That's awesome, man.
That is awesome. That's awesome. And what does leaving a legacy mean to you?
Leaving a legacy means, right now, all I can think of is my kids. Leaving something special for my boys and leading them with something to know about who their dad was, what they represented, what they valued, what they loved, and how much he inspired them to do what they are going to go out in this world and do. So that's, to me, what a legacy is.
Man, amazing. You for sure are going to be leaving an incredible legacy. The people you impact, everyone around you, how you are as a person, man, I just think the absolute world of you. Thank you for joining us in the lounge today, man.
I love you, Mike.
Thanks for having me. Love you too, bud.
We out.